it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to the second video of the day. And believe it or not, it's darker than when I recorded the birthday top 10. Only in the UK can it get dark in the morning. Anyway, as I said in that, we're going to be looking at an album ranking today of Nick Turner, co-founder of Hawkwind. Born at Nicholas Robert Turner on the 26th of August 1940. Passed away sadly 10th of November 2022. He was a fantastic musician, unique saxophone and flute style that really gave that extra zing in them early Hawkwind albums. He had this great stage presence as well. When he left Hawkwind, he was involved in a number of projects, including Inner City Uni. Yes, we will be looking at them in 2025. He joined the Twink of the Pink Fairies in a band called Pink Wind. And his last sort of thing when he relocated to a new age commune where he led a big swing band called the Nick Turner All Stars. Now, today we're going to look at his solo albums that are just credited to Nick Turner. And there's, as far as I can see, there are 8. All very good, you know, they're all good albums, but as usual, you know, I have my favourites like you guys have your favourites. There's no wrong or right in this. This is this is how I'd see them. If you see them differently, that's fine. So, coming in at number 8 is his last solo album, which he released in 2021, and it's called I Do What I Like. I like that title. Playing Nick on here plays the alto and tenor saxophones, the clarinet, the flute, the voice. Colin Constantine, sound rhythms, atmospheres and magic. Pete Bingham, guitar solos and textures. Glenda Pescado, the bass. Chris Meekon, Cosmic Electronics, whatever they are, and Matt Lloyd on the guitar. So the first track on this album is called Misbehaving. It's a very strange track. The saxophones are a bit off kilter, but it's Nick telling a story about his life, which is really fascinating. It's okay, but the best bit is him learning about Nick. Really good. Then we have Cosmic Enchantment. This is a long track. It's too long, I think. It's one of those tracks that's okay in places. There's some nice saxophone on this, though. It's pretty good. Pyramid Magic, another song that needs to be shortened. There's some great little segments within this, but as an 11-minute song, I really didn't get on with it. Then we have the title track, I Do What I Like. Another track with Nick talking. It's really good, but in his voice you could tell he wasn't a man of good health. But fair play for him for doing this. Then we have Deep Space Jam, my favourite track on it. It's very jazzy, some really nice saxophone work here from Nick. Even in his older age, he was still really good at playing saxophone. Fantastic track. Children of the Evolution. Some nice structure this. There's some nice little sound bites, some nice guitar. It's pretty decent actually, and it's the last track. As I said, you know that on this album Nick is not in the best of health. But you know, it's still got some interesting bits. I loved hearing the stories about Nick's life. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5.5. Okay, coming in at number 7. This is his first solo album, and it's called Nick Turner's Sphynx Xitintoday, or Xitintoday, and it was released in 1978. There's some interesting people on here. Nick Turner does the flute, the Moog, Chinese bells and saxophone. Mr. Steve Hillage does guitar, synth, Moog bass, bells, bass. Harry Williamson, acoustic guitar and Chinese bells and zither. Tim Blake, synthers and sequencers. And Miket Guradi, who of course is the partner of Steve Hillage. She's on vocals, synth, Tibetan and Chinese bells. Mike Howlett on bass. Malcolm Ashmore does some drumming. Maurice Pert of course, does a bit of vibes and timpani. The first track on here is called The Awakening, and in brackets, Life on Venus. What a really atmospheric track this is. Got some lovely tones. I love the flute on this. It's gorgeous. Then we have The Pyramid Spell, another of those quite atmospheric tracks. I love the flute again. It's ambient. It's a really good track. The Hall of the Double Truth, not keen on this one. It goes very quiet in places, and it's a little bit disjointed. You don't have to skip it, but it's not one of my favourites. Then we have Anubis. I love the growlier voices on this. The vocals sound like a robot. Then we have Throth. Very strange track, but I love the flute on it. Horus. I really couldn't get into this track at all. Isis and Nemphytity. Sorry folks, you know I can't say things sometimes, and that is one word I can't. It's Nephthyi or something like that. Very strange track. Orisis. I'm not into this. I'll get crucified for saying that, but it's just that. But my favourite track is the last track, and it's God Rock. It's got really good structure, and it flows really well. I don't dislike this album one little bit, but it's one of those albums you can't put on in the background and do your chores to. You have to sit down and listen to it, and I think this is one of them albums that certainly sounds a lot better on under the headphones. So you have to really concentrate. But in a few moments we'll be talking about another album that has features these albums as well. But this album on its own, I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. So coming in at number 6, we've got the second album from 1993, and it's called Sphynx. Nick Turner's got vocals, flutes and synth. Helios Creed from Chrome does the guitars. We've got Tommy Grenus on the Moog, Wayne James programming, and Len DeRio electronics. Basically, it's the first album that's been redone and put in a different order. The first one on this one is The Awakening. This is a lot better than the original. It's got a little bit more depth, and that's why I probably like it. Then we have Throth, far better than the original. I feel that the original was a little bit unfinished, but here you can hear what's going on. I do like this version better. God Rock, my favourite track off the previous album. It's a little bit better on this. It's still a great track, but they've really enhanced it. Like Anubis, it's got much better depth on this one, which is better than the original. I really enjoy that track now. Iris and then Nephthyi. There we go. That's on the other album I didn't like it, but guess what? I love it on here. It's much better. There's a bit more to it now, and when you listen to the other version, you sort of get what's going on. But that is really good. Pyramid Spell, it's that's very good. Again, you can listen to it and not get it. Don't have to concentrate as much. Or Isis, I'm still not keen on this track. It doesn't matter what version of it is, I just don't like it. Then we have a track called The Hall of the Double Truth, a new one. Sounds a lot better. The 6-minute version of this is a bit long. And then there's a newer sort of track. It's called The Wane and the Heart of the Negative Confusion. Very space rock. I love this. It's my favourite track on the album. Then we have Horus, a little bit better than the other version. Still a strange track, but there's more to it. And then, to end this album, we got this thing called Original Sounds from the Great Pyramid. It's 24 minutes long. There's some lovely flute in it, but boy does it go on. I think it should have only been about 4 or 5 minutes long at the most. But there you go. I don't make these decisions. Yeah, this album is a little bit better. It's still very hard to listen to, but there's a little bit more depth. The Original Sounds of the Pyramid is a bit too long, but I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 6.5. Okay, coming in at number 5, we've got the third album from 1994, and it's called Prophets of Time. On here, Nick does, of course, vocals, flute, saxophone, and noises. We've got Helios Creed again on the lead guitar. We've got Doran Shelley, there's some lead guitar as well. Tommy Grenis plays synthesizers. Len DeReal plays a synth and drum programming. Paul Fox is on the bass guitar. Simon House plays electric violin. Ricky Welsh plays a trumpet. Brandon LaBelle does some drums, and Neil Megson does the spoken voice on this album. So the first track on this one is called Prophecy. It's okay, this one. There's lots going on. I do love the keyboard synth sequence in this. Very, very good. Watching the Grass Grow. I do like this as well. It's a nice sort of short track, but it's got lots going on and it runs smoothly. It's very, very good. Children of the Sun. Now, this is more sound effects and music. So, right. Strontium 90 sounds like Chrome. It really does. It may have something to do that Helios Creed's on it, but it's pretty good. I do like that. Communicate. I'm not a great fan of this. It's sort of, the vocal gets lost, but the saxophone sounds all right. It's the only thing that's really in tune for me. Last Chances Lost. Strange little track and a little bit dull for me. I didn't get into that track. Stonehenge, who knows? My favourite track on here. It's got some nice guitar work, and you can tell it's got some. I think that's Helios playing it, and it's got some mixtures of Chrome and Hawkwind on this. It's really good. Best track. Cybernetic Love. Not very coherent. It's a bit bitty. And War for Every Day. Bit of a filler track. Not keen on that one. Bones of Elvis. I love the drumming on this. And I love the deadpan vocal on it. Very, very good. Walking into the Sky. Very solid track. Some nice tones on that one as well. We've got Lunacy. Second favourite track on here. There's some brilliant keyboard on it, and the bass line is great as well. Fallout. Very good track. The atmosphere on this is wonderful. Some lovely textures on that saxophone from Nick. Andromeda, it's a little bit repetitive, but I'm just glad it was only under 3 minutes. And then Space Station Announcement. It's just a bit of sound effects. It's a bit of a filler to me. Yeah, mixed bag album. There's some really good stuff on this. Lots of tracks on it, 15. There's quite a bit of filler, but the tracks I do like are fantastic. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 4, we have the fourth album from 2015, and it's called Space Fusion Odyssey. Playing on here, there's some great names on here. Joining Nick. There's so many people, but I've picked out a few people. We've got Chris Poland on guitar, Steve Hillage, the wonderful Robbie Krieger from Doors on one track, and Billy Sherwood, who's just a fantastic musician as well. There's lots of other people. The list is as long as your arm. So the first track is Adjust the Future. I love this. Now this, you can hear the Billy Sherwood bass line on this, really groovy. I think he may have played drums on this as well. It's an excellent track. Hypernova, really good track. Some great saxophone, but Robbie Krieger, lovely guitar work on this. I do like that track. Spiritual Machines, I love this. It's got a wonderful flute part from Nick. It's very space track. It's fantastic. Then we have a track called Pulsar. This is a great jazzy fusion thing. Lots of going on. Some great guitar, and you know it's Steve Hillage. I knew it was Steve Hillage. You just can pick him out. An Epileptical Galaxy, a great track. Fantastic guitar work on here. It's a real spicy sort of track. I do like that. And the last track on this one is called A Beautiful Vision in Science Forgotten. Once again, we've got a great little bit of drum, but the flute from Nick is pretty good. I really like that track. I think this is a pretty solid album from Nick. From top to bottom, really good tracks. A great album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, coming in at number 3, we have the 7th album from 2019, and it's called The Final Frontier. On here we have got Nick Turner doing the vocals and saxophone and flute. We've got Nicky Garrett on guitar, Paul Raldolph on guitar, Jürgen Engler on the Moogs and bass and guitar, Chris Lietz on keyboards, Kiefer Moon on keyboards, Simon House on the violin, Bryce Shelton bass, Jason Weiler on drums, and Adam Hamilton does some drumming as well. First track on here is called Out of Control, my second favourite track on the album. I love the atmosphere on here. Absolutely terrific. Great bunch of musicians on this. Interstellar Aliens, I love them vocals on this. That violin from Simon House really adds to this. It's an excellent track. Thunder Rider, a really good track. Old-fashioned space rock done here. It's got this Arabian solo thing to it. It's 21st century space rock. Lovely keyboards and a great vocal from Nick. Super track. Then we have The Final Frontier Part 1. I love the bongos on this. It's sort of a fusion sort of jazz sort of thing. It's a little bit long, but it's still a great track. Back to the Ship, a really good track. This is again old-fashioned space rock done in the 21st century. Love the guitar on this. Another really super vocal from Nick. My favourite track on here though is a little thing called Calling the Egyptians. Fantastic guitar work. I love the vocals, atmosphere. It's got that Egyptian feel to it. Strange Loop, atmospheric. Reminds me of very early Pink Floyd, Syd Barrett days. It's very psychedelic, fantastic track. The Final Frontier Part 2. It's 2 minutes. I think they should have just put the whole thing together. But it's just load of noises, so one can see why they just kept it separate. Pad 4, bit of a filler, not really necessary. Lots of weird noises with some saxophone. A pretty solid album. The last 2 tracks are a bit of a filler, but the rest of it is fantastic. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7.6. Okay, coming in at number 2, we got the 4th album from 2013, and it is called Space Gypsy. Joining Nick on here, on these vocals and flute and saxophone, is Nicky Garrett on guitar. Steve Hillage plays guitar on track 8. Jürgen Engler is on the Mellotron synth and guitar. Chris Lietz on the Mellotron as well. Simon House again back on the violin. Jeff Pacini on bass and Jason Weiler on the drums. First track on here is called Fallen Angel, STS51L, which I think it's reversed to one of the space shuttles, I'm sure. I'm not very good on figures, but so it's a great track. Proper little space track, lots of space effects on it, great vocals as well. Then we have Joker's Song, Good vocal from Nick. I love the guitar on this. Some little bit of saxophone as well that really adds to it. Time Crypt. The vocal here is a bit funny and really psychedelic. Some saxophone on here that's great as well. Galaxy Rise comes next. The flute from Nick is superb and it is so relaxing. Coming of the Maya. I like this, it's my favourite. There's a bit of a story to it. It's got some nice guitar work on this. It's just brilliant stuff. We Ride the Time Wind. Standard sort of Nick Turner, Hawkwindy type track. Very good. Eternity. Wonderful track. Some lovely flute from Nick. Fantastic. Does sound so good. Antimatter. Very, very good track. The guitar work from Steve Hillage is fantastic. Great guitarist, as you know. I think the saxophone works with this as well. The Visitor, second favourite track on here. The flute dominates this from Nick. It's got a lovely melody to it as well. And Something's Not Right. Great guitar work. Top draw musicians playing a great track. Another really good album. Not a bad track on this. Love listening to this. Just a fantastic album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. But my number one Nick Turner album, and I remember the first time I heard this and I thought, God, this man still got it. And it's called Life in Space. It came out in 2017. And it's Nick Turner doing his usual vocals, flute, saxophone. We've got guitars on here done by Nicky Garrett and Paul Rudolph. Jürgen Engler on the Moog and the guitar and bass. Fritz Lights on the keyboards again. Hifra Moon on keyboards. Simon House is back doing the violins. Bryce Sheldon on the bass. And Jason Weiler on the drums. First track on this one, End of the World. I love the start of this. I love the little bit of the guitar at the beginning. You've got this build-ups and the sound effects. It's proper space rock. Fantastic track. Why Are You? Love this. Again, it's just energy and space rock at its best. Some great guitar work on that. Really strong track. Back to Earth. We've got this Gentile atmospheric ambient track now, and Nick is playing the flute, and they've got the violin from Simon. That combination of the flute and violin, this is wonderful. They work so well together. Secrets of the Galaxy, fantastic. My favourite track on here. It's probably one of my favourite tracks by Nick Turner as a solo artist. It's got that proper Hawkwind sound. It just sounds like you're listening to a classic Hawkwind song. It's absolutely brilliant. Universal Mind. Now the vocal from Nick is really good because they've put some echo on it and it makes it really haunting. Some great guitar work on that track again, and the drumming is super on that as well. Approaching the Unknown. A little bit long in places, but that's that. I think that middle bit needed just to be shortened a little bit, but it's still a very strong track. As You Were. One of my favourite tracks on this album. The detail on this is great. The drumming is fantastic. The guitar sort of work with that drum. Fantastic. And the last track is Master of the Universe. Very jazzy, this one. I love Nick's saxophone on this. Absolutely top drawer. The riffs are pretty strong as well. It's a really good song. Fantastic album. Okay, there's one track that could have been shortened a little bit, but it doesn't take away the enjoyment of this album. It's a very solid album, and I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.3. So there we go. A bit of Nick Turner. Now, someone put a comment on the Dave Brock and said, you've really got into this solo stuff. Yeah, I have. I really have. I love the solo stuff. I love Dave Brock's solo stuff, and I love Nick Turner's as much. Okay, that's all for this one. We've got one more to do today, and that's retro ranking. And then we're doing a soundtrack sort of one this time, and it's for Mr. Hans Zimmer. So bye for now.